Yeah, so there is quite a lot of fun to be had in Partners Fail. It is a combo heavy set and I love it. Now, rather than go through each of the combos and interactions individually, I thought we'd just do them all together. So hopefully you enjoy, and we're going through the classes one by one, 3 apiece, starting with Enigma, Nu, and then finally Zen. Okay, so the first interaction for us to look at comes by way of Enigma and Manifestations of Miragai. This enters the arena with 2+ counters on it. If Chi was pitched to play this, instead it enters with 4. It has Ward X, where X is the number of counters on it. So, thanks to the weapon, Cosmos Scroll of Ancestral Tapestry, its attack is equal to its ward plus the counters on it. So for instance, if it has 1 counter on it, it will have Ward 1, giving it 2 actual attack. So this is a fantastic card to snowball away with. So why don't we see what exactly we can do with it. So we have some of our Chi cards that we can play together, which is perfect. So we will do Rising Sun, Setting Moon, and then we'll do Homage to the Ancestors. We'll pass, we'll let them resolve, get our Chi. We get an Ancestral Etching, but we'll put that back to the deck for now. Alright, so we've got 2 Chi, our Manifestations, and our Sacred Art. So we can play the Manifestations with an Inner Chi. This means it will start with 4 counters on it, and it's at instant speed, so we don't lose an action point. So the opportune time to actually play this is probably on your opponent's turn, right before it changes over, so that you can get the maximum benefit and be able to then stack it up on your turn. But why don't we just see how big exactly we can make it. So we also have the Sacred Art, which will give it some more counters. So we can pitch the Inner Chi, we'll end up getting 2 Spectral Shield tokens, as well as the Miragai, and giving it another counter. So we now have Inner Chi, which means we can attack and swing. So we'll also flip over our Uphold Tradition. We'll pitch away the Inner Chi and give the Manifestations 1 more token. So it now has 6 counters on it, meaning that we can swing with our 2 Spectral Shields, the first one being free, thanks to Enigma for 2, into our other Spectral Shield for another 2 damage, and then followed up finally with another Manifestations of Miragai for our 12 damage. So for our opening turn, not too shabby, we managed to do a total of 16 damage. But we can pass, and now basically the game plan is protect your Manifestations. So luckily for us, they're only tusking, and we do have enough ward to do just that. So we can let it through, take our damage, and pop our Spectral Shield and Uphold Tradition, leaving the Manifestations and 1 Spectral Shield. The reason this is important because now we have Ancestral Etching. So put 3 counters on target aura with ward you control. If you control a Spectral Shield, you may play this as though it is instant, meaning that we can play a couple of them and then swing once more. So we'll target our Manifestations, giving it 3 counters, pitch away our Chi, and this of course means that it's gaining a total of 6 actual attack. So right now it swings for 18. After another one, it will now swing for 24. So with our resources left, we can play our Spectral Shield for free, do another 2 damage, and then of course swing with our Manifestations for a whopping 24, or a KO over 2 turns with the amount of damage that we actually pressured. Yeah, pretty nice, right? So this and Shimmers of Silver are definitely a win condition for Enigma, and are either for opponent a priority to clear, with this being a little bit harder because it means you have to pop all their other ward on board, or in the case of Shimmers of Silver, just target it directly. But this is going to be a lot of fun to snowball away. But it's not the only big thing Enigma has access to. No, there is another card called 10,000 Year Reunion, where it has you may remove 3 counters from among auras you control rather than pay this card's cost, and a whopping ward 10. So rather than paying H resources to put this into play, all you need is 3 counters on board, which is actually surprisingly a bit more achievable than you might think. So in our hand, we have Spectral Manifestation. Create a Spectral Shield token, then if you control no other illusionist auras, put 3 counters on it. So straight away, what can we do? Well, we can play that. We can pitch any single blue we want, pass, have it land on the board, and straight away put in our 10,000 Year Reunion. And just for a little bit extra spice, we could always swing first, since Enigma's own ability allows us to use a Spectral Shield for free. So we can do 4 damage with that, and then we can put in 10,000 Year Reunion, getting rid of the Spectral Shield, counters, but not the actual token itself, meaning we've now just set up quite the big board. Ward 10, Ward 1, and all our equipment. But what if we wanted to actually swing with it, right? Because it's a action and aura without going out, meaning putting it into play, even cheating it, you will lose your action points. Well, with a slight tweak to the hand, we can now utilize our new leg equipment, which have pay 3 Chi, and you may play auras this turn as though they were instant, meaning that we can put this into play without it actually consuming action points, and in some cases, on your opponent's turn. right? Because if this wasn't an action card, but rather an aura, or if we had the board state to do just that, we could wait till our opponent's turn was over to then put our 10,000 year reunion into play. But I like being aggressive, so why don't we just swing with it? So we have Homage and we have Rising Sun, Setting Moon. So we'll play them both, get our chi. So playing them in unison means that we'll activate them. So we get our 2 chi, we get to draw a card and put a card back. So we have another 10,000 reunion, and this will come into play, but we'll let that go for now. So now we can do our footsteps. Pitch away an inner chi. We now play any aura at instant speed. We also don't need to gain the ward since it's not our opponent's turn, so we'll say no to that. And then we can do the same combo. So Spectral Manifestation, pitch the inner chi, get a Spectral Shield, say no to the pathways, swing with said Spectral Shield for 4 damage, and then put in 10,000 year reunion. Getting rid of the counters, and now being able to swing with a 10. We have the 1 resource floating, so we're all good to go. But now we can even take it a step further. See, the good thing about 10,000 year reunion is you can cheat it in, but now it is still an 8 cost card. So if we let the opponent go through, right, they have their Tusk, and unfortunately we need to use some ward equipment to get rid of it. So we'll pass, it'll hit, and we'll have to then, unfortunately, say goodbye to our Spectral Shield and our Kimono. But in doing that, what we have just done is left the 10,000 year reunion, our Uphold Tradition, and of course our Crown of Reflection, which reads, destroy Crown of Reflection, destroy target illusionist aura you control. If you do, you may put an illusionist aura from your hand into the arena with cost less than or equal to the aura destroyed this way. Meaning that you can cycle one 10,000 reunion into another 10,000 reunion, or literally any other aura in the game, because this is by far the most costly. So what might we do? Well, we can do Uphold Tradition for starters, pitch the inner chi, pass, put the token onto our 10,000 year reunion, allowing it to swing and have go again. We can then swing, do 11 damage, pass, and then we can activate the Crown of Reflection. So using the Crown of Reflection, we can destroy and put in another 10,000 year reunion, bypassing the fact that it's an action without go again, right? Because the Crown is instant, and swing again. All while still having some cards in our hand to do some other stuff. So, not quite as powerful as the manifestations, but pretty strong nonetheless. And again, it's more about your ability to cheat in literally anything. Any other aura in the game, you can cycle with 10,000 reunion if you just have the counters. Now, Celestial Kimono also comes into play. If we didn't have to sack it, we have once per turn when Celestial Kimono or a non-token permanent you control with ward is destroyed, gain a resource. Meaning that with Crown of Reflection, not only would this allow you to cycle 10,000 year reunion, put something else in, but also gain 1 extra resource. But there's also one more big thing that Enigma can do, and it's the best version of Final Act that we have so far, and that is 3 visits. So 3 visits is Ward X, where X is 3 times the number of blue cards you've pitched this turn. So on your turn, it can be monstrously large, right? Especially when combined with Wide Blue Yonder, which has target attack, gets +1 for each blue card you've pitched this turn. Now, the emphasis being on target attack, meaning that you can select anything that can launch or declare an attack, you can buff with Wide Blue Yonder. So we can play 3 visits, and we can get rid of one of the Wide Blue Yonders, allowing us to put it into field. It's instant as well, meaning that you could start with it on your opponent's turn, right? Play it as their very last step. That way, when your turn rolls around, it's the last thing you're doing, and you're just trying to pitch stack. Or, like this, you can go combo into it. But right now, it is doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 by 3, so 27. And of course, after that, we can now load it up with some Wide Blue Yonders. We had the 1 resource floating, perfect for the Cosmos. Now 1 Wide Blue Yonder brings it to a whopping 36. And then the next one to a 45. Now, important notes, started without a card in the arsenal or anything on field. So 45 is not the biggest damage that you can get out of this. You can pump it significantly higher. We also have 1 more cash in the deck that we didn't hit. But yeah, a 45, 3 visits, right? In Blitz, Enigma and 3 visits is just straight up better than Final Act because it's 3 times your pitch rather than 2 times your pitch. Plus again, you can add in Wide Blue Yonder. And then here on Classic Constructed, well, it might actually be enough damage to be a win condition. Because if you're not trying to KO in 1 turn, you could still pump this very high to do quite a lot of damage. On to Nu. So Nu is a really fun hero with a Interesting design. Basically, they're a slap in the face to anyone who wants to block or chooses not to block, because if they choose not to block, you have ways to make them, and if they do overblock, you have ways to punish them. So, what can we do? Well, we can start with Double Trouble, which is a wonderful card to pressure with, right? Because it has stealth. If you played or activated 2 or more attack reactions as Chain Link, this gets +2, and when this hits hero, banish the top 2 cards of their deck. So straight away, what this tells your opponent is you're probably going to try and amp this with at least 2 or more reactions, meaning that they might potentially want to overblock. And even if they don't, we have ways to, again, pull cards out of their hand. So we have all our Assassin equipment, which is fantastic. Flick Knives for Orbitoclast or Scale Peeler. Mask Predation to pressure more banishment. Black-Tech Whisperers in themselves allows us to give Double Trouble go again, meaning if you were to start with this and then pass the step over to them, they might think you're trying to follow up with something else. And of course, Redback Shroud to then give our card -1. So New is the ultimate head game machine, but what exactly can we do? Well, we're going to start off by just activating everything. Now it's the bot, so they're not going to block, but that's fine. This is just a scenario, right? So we'll activate all the Assassin equipment, and we will Flick Knives, inflicting one of these debuffs, either in terms of Orbitoclast, when they defend with non-attack action cards, they get -1, or equipment -1. We would have skipped the equipment step at this point, so there's no real point using Scale Peeler with Flick Knives, but because we're going to be pulling cards out of their hand and deck, Orbitoclast still has a chance to reap some benefits. So from there, we can now start using our own reactions. Now, thanks to Redback Shroud, we can use Siren's Call. Siren's Call is look at the defending hero's hand and choose a blue card. Add it to this chain link as a defending card. If you do, draw a card. So as long as they have a blue, we're able to then pick one and draw a card back, allowing us to continue the onslaught. Now, this gives us a way to read our opponent's actual hand, right? Because you get to look at the entire hand, so we know they have a Hype Driver, a Zipper Hit, and these 2 blues. So we can pick the most disruptive effect. That in itself is nice and powerful. So pick the Optical Monocle, put it on the chain, we get another Siren's Call. Not quite what I wanted to hit, but still good nonetheless, right? Because the overall way to punish is to fill up the combat chain, and then end with something like Spreading Plague. So from their deck, right, there's a Dissipation Shield and a Microprocessor. We have the benefits of looking at the top 4 cards of the deck, right, and then picking a card to defend with. Pick one. Again, this is basically adding no block, right? So now we can reorganize their deck, which again is super powerful in itself. Against the bot, we don't really care. So that leaves us with enough to do one more thing. Now, if we draw Pitchable and Siren's Call rather than Spreading Plague, we'd be a lot happier, right? Because then we could try and get one more card out of their hand, especially since we know they have another blue. So we could be a bit greedy and go for that, but I'm just going to Spreading Plague, because the whole objective in this type of play is to bait them into blocking a lot, and then to punish them even further with Blood Rot, right? So Blood Rot at the beginning of your end phase, destroy it, then deal 2 damage unless you pay 3 resources, meaning that one way or the other, you are trying to desperately exhaust their hand and really cripple them going for the next turn. Either we're pulling out cards from their hand, either they're putting cards forward, or we're going to Blood Rot their hand, and they're either going to take damage or have to maintain some cards in their hand to then pay for Blood Rot. So all this will add up, and again, just makes New this ultimate head gamey type deck. But hey, maybe you want something a bit more straightforward. Well, how about just New Smash with Mask of Malicious Manifestation? So this card allows us to put a card from hand or arsenal on the bottom of the deck, destroy real cards from our deck until we find an attack action card and put it into our hand. Now, thanks to Blossom of Spring, we don't actually have to pitch for it. So even without a card in the arsenal and only 4 in hand, we Blossom of Spring, pass, gain our resource, and then mask. We get ourselves a whopping what? Can you guess it? Yeah, Cosmic Awakening. The card that can do a massive 20 right here, turn 1. So we just need the chi, meaning that we can play. Doesn't really matter the order, so we'll do Homage, Rising Setting, and Stir the Pot. We'll pass, let them resolve, get our juicy chi. Now, Spreading Plague is also in this for another reason, right? Imagine this. Imagine you pull off this massive 20. They defend with all they've got, and then you slap on a Spreading Plague. Could be something. But for now, you can go back to the deck. We get our 3 chi cards, and then we'll play Cosmic Awakening. Now, a massive 20 in a single card that you can fetch out in a weird, jank, one-attack style New. Pump, it's full of other attack reactions, and who knows? You might have something. At least in Blitz, I can imagine a turn 2, right after the draw refresh of turn 1 has subsided. You just launch out a 20, and you laugh. Yeah, a 20 is pretty nice. And of course, just like Enigma, New has her own payoff when it comes to White Blue Yonder. My favorite pick is going to be Eradicate. So Eradicate, when this hits hero, banish the top X cards of the deck, where X is the damage dealt by said Eradicate. We have one resource perfectly, so we can play Eradicate, pass, and now we can buff it with our triple White Blue Yonder. So it does 12, then it does 20, and finally 28. So that could be half the deck, or in this case, a lot of cards. In Blitz, yeah, that's going to be something. And of course, then you can recycle all of your energy. You've got probably enough silver to cycle right through your deck and find whatever you're looking for, to then just now play as New and play from your opponent's deck. I mean, we can play all of their Mechanologist cards, not that Boost actually does us any valid justice, but depending on the right matchup, that could definitely seal you the win if you just get a whole trove of treasure to play at the ridiculous price of nothing. So then that just leaves Zen. Now, if you haven't noticed, we sort of start small and work our way up to the biggie. So first off with Zen, what can we do? Well, his big combo piece is Shifting Winds of the Mystic Beast. And while this is a fantastic combo piece, it is just all around a great card for enabling Zen to kind of be a equivalent, if not better, Katsu, right? You're able to run any single combo you want and fetch them out through your hero ability, similar to Katsu. Now, yes, in some circumstances, it is kind of more difficult, but just as fun. And then you also have this to take it over the top, the 12-petal chess piece, which whenever you transcend, you may gain one resource. So what exactly can we do? Well, we'll play Homage, I'll follow it up with Stir the Pots. Now, we're actually not going to gain the resource, we're going to say no. And the reason for that is that could mess up our ability to play Shifting Winds. So Shifting Winds has a Chi requirement, right? If Chi was pitched to play this, create 2 Crouching Tigers in your hand. If we were to gain the resources from the 12-petal, I should really look up how to pronounce this, well, then Shifting Winds would use those resources and we would not be able to pitch. But we really want the 2 Crouching Tigers from it. So what we can do is now play Shifting Winds, pitch away an Inner Chi, gain our 2 Crouching Tigers from its effect, and have the ongoing effect of whenever you play Crouching Tiger this turn, name a card, it gets that name, which of course brings us to our first combo. So we'll use Sacred Art to buff our Crouching Tigers, generate a few more, gain the resource, and then use Zen. So we are pretty strong in this scenario. We have 3 resources floating, we have 5 Crouching Tigers in hand, and we have access to a combo. So the combo we're going with first is Dishonor. If Bonds of Ancestry was the last attack of this combat chain, this has +2. When this hits a hero, if you control Surging Strike, Descending Gust Wave, and Bonds of Ancestry, that hero loses all abilities for the rest of the game. Now, the fact that you can just pressure this over and over again quite easily, in my opinion, makes it quite nice. Now, there are simpler combos as well. One-piece combos, for instance, that you could Crouching Tiger that, then Crouching Tiger something else, but this is fun nonetheless. So we have Dishonor, and if we do Crouching Tiger, we can now slowly name them everything we need to name them. So starting off with Surging Strike, followed then by Descending Gust Wave, and then lastly Bonds of Ancestry, allowing us to fulfill the criteria for Dishonor and play it, causing it to inflict its very devastating effect of stripping the hero of their ability for the rest of the game. So that is, again, a fantastic thing to simply pressure your opponent with. But look at that, we still have Tigers left over, so we could have done some more stuff. We're also not utilizing any head, arm, or feet equipment. So this combo is definitely very flexible and can definitely be utilized for a few different effects. Okay, so here we are in the exact same position, but now with a few other cards to mention. So we can activate Zen, and what options do we have? Well, we have Break Tide, Find Center, Dishonor, of course, and good old Tiger Swipe. So Tiger Swipe, if Crouching Tiger was the last attack this combat chain, this has +2 and go again. Then if it hits, we get to create more Crouching Tigers. Dishonor, again, fantastic to pressure. Now these two are worth noting. So Find Center, if Crane Dance was the last attack this combat chain, again, Crouching Tiger fulfills this role thanks to the Shifting Winds. So it can't be defended by cards with cost less than the number of chain links you control. And it also gains, if this hits, create a Zen State token. But the can't be defended by cards is the fantastic effect that we're really trying to think about. So if we have a nice healthy chain of say 6, which this would be, means it can't be defended by cards with 5 or less. Equipment, for reference, was ruled to be 0 cost. So as long as you have 1 chain link, it can't be defended by equipment. But the fact that you could pump it up all the way to being the 6th chain link and can't be defended by 5 or less means that you might be able to take out their hand. So if they're wise enough for instance, to not block the Crouching Tigers because they know something bigger is coming. For instance, a Tiger Sweep. This might be the opportune time to swap into, say, a Fine Center rather than use, say, Tiger Swipe, because now you'll be able to take advantage of the fact that they are waiting to block. But my favorite pick is Break Tide. So if Rushing River or Flooded Force was the last Tactics Combat Chain, it gets +3 and dominates, and then when it hits, smash the top card of your deck until the end of your turn, you may play it. So that can be super powerful in this effect, especially when comboed with the Breeze Rider Boots. So we'll take Break Tide, and we'll be able to then do Crouching Tiger, name one of the two cards, so either Rushing River or Flooded Force. We'll do Rushing River, submit, one on the chain. If it hits, then we can pop the Breeze Rider Boots. If it doesn't hit, we can continue swinging with Tigers until one does. And then after that, again, given the situation, we could Break Tide. They're a bot. I know they're not going to block, so we'll use Break Tide first. And then the powerful effect of Break Tide in this type of scenario is no matter what we hit in the deck, we're going to be able to then go into another combo. So for instance, we got the Fine Center. So in this scenario, right, we could just pump up the chain links and eventually name one Crane Dance, like so, and then be able to play Fine Center. If, for instance, you could Break Tide into Break Tide or had Break Tide in hand, now those are some shenanigans. So Break Tide also has the useful ability of allowing you to play any card that is banished. So as long as you have the action point, right, no matter what is banished, if it's something that generates more Tigers, fine. If it's a mystic ability or just a reaction, you can play it during your turn. So Break Tide is definitely a strong effect as long as you can have that go again. Or even better, because Break Tide doesn't stop until the end of your next turn is the key wording to look at here, right? So whatever you load up is ready to go all the way through to the next turn of play. So Break Tide is a fantastic card for Zen, and I'm hoping to see it has super valuable use because I have a lot of copies of them, because until now, I don't think it has actually seen play. Okay, here we go. So we've got some drawing to do, but this is the aggro build using 100 wins, which I do think is just a good strategy for Zen whatsoever, just to flip-flop between Crouching Tigers and 100 wins, because it's a lot of damage and a lot of attacks you can put out every single turn. But what can we do? We've got the Chi card, so we'll stir the pot. We can get rid of the crown, the gloves, the boots, and the 2 daggers. We're taking Zephyr Needle in the case that Katsu ever LLs before Zen, but it shouldn't really matter. I always just take 2 daggers if we're cashing out, because it's 1 extra silver. So we can draw. We'll probably draw before we shuffle. Pay the 2 silver. That nets us 100 wins and a cash in. We're running low on silver. We'll stir the pots for the resource, because either way, it means that we can pay for cash in all the tenants, right, off of 1 chi, which is fantastic, thanks to the legendary chest. After that, we got Sacred Art, 2 Roars, an Art of War, and some silver. So we definitely need to use the silver, since we don't want to get rid of anything in hand. That gets us Homage, so that's some chi, that's good. We can then generate the resource. We can then Sacred Art, pitch the inner chi, pass, generate some more resources, have the chi, which is good, but now we can Art of War off the Crouching Tigers we just got. So we'll take the Banish and buff. So now we can banish all the Crouching Tigers in our hand for some more draw and continue to cycle through the deck. Perfect. Another Art of War. Do the same thing again. Banish and buff. Pass. Hit the Crouching Tiger. And we have all 3 Roars, and there's the other Art of War. Now we also have Rising Sun, so we're fine to Zen. Pitch away the inner chi. Pass. And that will get us 100 wins and another Crouching Tiger, meaning we can Art of War again. This time I did mess up because we need the resource first. So we'll do Rising Sun. Pass, and we put something to the bottom. We'll just put the Preserved Tradition. Do I need Preserved Tradition? Can't remember. I don't think I will. I think I've over-rigged the draw. Right, there's the resource for Art of War. Perfect. Banish, buff, done. We hit the Crouching Tiger. Like so. We're at 0. Perfect. We have the Shifting Winds. We can pitch the energy, get the buff off that. And that should be good, right? 1, 2, 3. Yep, so lastly, it's just activate the Roars. So 1, 2, and 3, and then activate Predatory Strike. Now we're fine to do our 100 win shtick, right? Now we do have silver and Preserved Tradition at the bottom. Yeah, so I was 1 card over. We really didn't need it. If we played Preserved Tradition, we could have got 1 card greater, right? Because we'd have the resources. So technically, you could have 3 extra Tigers, because you could run another Predatory Strike in everything that we've just done. But buff-wise, we have the Sacred Arts, we have 3 Art of Wars and 3 Roars, so each Tiger is doing 7, and then we're able to name them whatever he wants, and of course, we're going to name them all 100 wins, so let's see how much damage we can do. Okay, after a length of typing, we did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 chain links of 7 damage, right? So kind of already enough to KO, but now we have our 300 wins to follow it up. So we get to play 100 wins, and it in itself is now doing 14, followed by a good old 15, and then lastly, another 16. So, yeah, quite the hefty chain link, right? 101 bits of damage for your opponent's face, and I know there is a much greater damage Tiger Swipe build, right? I will put the link in the description because there was someone who did a wonderful video. I'm sorry, I forgot the name, right? I did watch it, but it'll be in the description if you want to see just how insane Zen can do. You definitely check that out. But I do like this a little bit better because it doesn't have the potential for your opponent to disrupt it, right? Say, for instance, in Tiger Swipe, if they, save their block and shut down Tiger Swipe, then you're out of luck. This is still, a ton of damage, right? We can go to the concede screen too. So annoyingly, it does omit the first turn, but there we go, right? 101 damage dealt. Yeah, so pretty nice. And again, 100 wins rather than trying to break the chain, because while you can do insane damage with Tiger Swipe, dead is dead. Simple as that. Okay, it's finally time to see how much damage we can do with the Wide Blue Yonder combo for Zen. Now, last little step. Preserve Tradition. I wish I had another combo card, because we actually ended up drawing Pounding Gale, right? So if I could cycle one back in somehow or anything like that, right, we could go into 2 combo cards, but that's fine. We will just take, it doesn't really matter, we can't draw it anyway. We're mainly doing this so that we can play Zen, pitch the inner chi, and have another blue on the stack. And unfortunately now the HP is hidden, so yeah, let's begin. Nice and simple, all we have to do is Crouching Tiger, just name Open the Center, pass. They're doing 4 damage, that's okay. Another Crouching Tiger, another Open the Center, another 4 damage, and another chance for your opponent to block, sure. But no, the big clencher here is Pounding Gale. So Pounding Gale by itself is already doing 8. We throw on a Wide Blue Yonder, it's now doing 18, 28, and 38. So the big thing here is Pounding Gale has, if Pounding Gale would deal damage to a hero, instead it deals double that much. So if we did end up having small tigers or anything like that, right, you could have a longer chain, you could threaten their hand, their armor, and then with Pounding Gale, again, unlike Tiger Swipe, it is even if they block, right? If enough damage gets through, if half their current life gets through, they're done for. So for instance, right now, unblocked, this is doing 76 damage. So yeah, that's fairly nice. We will pass, but we did a whopping 84. So if we do concede, what we can see is, right, damage dealt was 46, but of course Pounding Gale then doubled itself in terms of the actual calculation. So I wish we could see the total damage dealt, but that was off of 3 cards, 84, so that was about, what, 25-ish per card. So that's fairly nice, right? So, for those of you who have made it this far, here's a little teaser for you. Yep, Max Zen is coming, and it is disgusting.